Learning to swim as an adult is all about trust. Trust in your teacher, trust in yourself, trust in the deep water. How do we build trust as teachers with our students, as students with the water, as learners with ourselves? Both as a teacher and as a student, because a teacher has to learn how to trust themselves too, because we come off as weird and needy if we don't trust ourselves as teachers. So today we are going to talk about how to build up trust in swimming lessons for adults, with adults, as teachers, and as students. Trust me, I'll lead you the way. Why is trust so important? Why are we talking about this? When adults go to learn to swim, there's some part of them that knows, maybe they're saying it consciously out loud, or maybe it's just somewhere in the back of their head, but they know people drown. They know people don't survive. So there is this trust thing that needs to be in place, that I am going to survive this. At the very least, that's the smallest amount of baseline there. Now, sometimes people you can just say, trust me, I have a lifeguarding certificate. Trust me, I've done it before, and people will. And that's great. There is a certain amount of credibility, right? I've been doing this for 25 years. It does help to build some trust right there. The other way that we build trust with ourselves, with our students, is by listening. Is by meeting our students where they are. Or as the learner, meeting yourself where you are. Not pretending that you're somebody else or not rah-rahing your way through it. But I mean meeting the most afraid, the most tender, the most worried part of yourself, of your students. Because we want to bring all of who we are. We have lots of different parts to ourselves, right? There is the part that is very performative and high functioning and doing amazing things in the world. But there's also a very tender, worried, or pushy, or anxious other part of ourselves as well. We need to be able to listen and build trust with that part of our students, that part with ourselves, by deeply listening and paying attention to that part. That part doesn't have to rule everything, but we need to acknowledge it and to allow it room to be there too, because that part is really just trying to keep you safe. Safe from many different things. Safe as in getting air and breath, or safe from embarrassment and shame and being left out. Lots of different reasons why we have that part there. It's really its job is saying, I just want to keep you safe. So building trust means we relate to that part. The next part of trust, this is a fun part. We want to do lots of trust building activities in the water as part of the lessons. One of the really fun things that we do is we over and over and over and over again play with how difficult it is to get to the bottom of the shallow end. That starts to build trust about really how it's going to work in the deep end too. All the games we play, falling over, sitting on the bottom, picking things up, doing somersaults, doing handstands, jumping and flailing ourselves around. These are all fun ways of being in the water when we've done the steps to lead up to them. But these are ways that we practice building trust with how the water works, and trust within ourselves to be kind of chaotic and be able to recover from it. These are trust building activities that we do in shallow water, mid-depth water, near the wall, away from the wall, at different and varying levels, all to build up that trust both in the psychological and the physical elements of how swimming works. The third trust building tip I'm going to give you today is really about measuring your improvements. So we oftentimes, when we measure our improvements and measure our learning, we try and measure in big chunks, in big leaps. But we really only can measure big leaps when we have some space to look back on things. When you're in the middle of building trust with yourself, with your students, with the learning process, we need to have smaller, granular measurements of our improvements. So we can have this trust with ourselves of, oh, right, I am growing and changing. So I can go into and discover my front float 50 times. I could do that front float or the back float 100 times. And I bring my curiosity into different little parts of my body, different little parts of how I go into it or come out of it, different awarenesses and curiosities. These are the measurable building blocks that I need to build this really strong foundation of how my body and the water work together, how I have trust in myself to discover new things while taking care of my mind and my breath. Building trust is fundamental with teaching adults. It doesn't come from moving them through a checklist. It doesn't come from you, bravado, being the expert and telling them what to do. Trust is built by connections, deep connections with our students, deep connections with ourselves, deep connections within the student and themselves. Building this understanding, this foundation, this fun and curiosity. If you need help being able to figure out what those steps are to breaking these things down, because it can be difficult to do it on your own because we have these big ideas and we need help seeing the in-between steps, which is where the trust really gets built. That's what I'm here for. I'd love to hear from you. Grab your roadmap, send me a note, shoot me an email. Let's talk and build that foundation of trust in yourself to move forward in all of your dreams. Aloha!